Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our world of mysterious stories. On a quiet night when the rain falls softly, imagine catching a glimpse of a small child standing under a dim light, wearing a large straw hat. This child is carefully holding a tray with a single block of tofu on it. This is the yokai known as Tofu Kozo. When we think of yokai, we often imagine creatures that scare people or cause harm. However, Tofu Kozo does nothing of the sort. He simply stands there with his tofu. He does not attack anyone, nor does he cast any terrible curses. Why was such a harmless yokai born, and why was he so loved by the people of his time? Behind his existence lies the unique culture of the Edo period, and the fascinating ways our ancestors used their imagination. Tonight, let us explore the true identity of Tofu Kozo, a spirit who is perhaps a bit too harmless, making him somewhat endearing yet slightly lonely. How would you react if you met a child simply holding a block of tofu on a dark path? Would you feel afraid? Or would you worry that he might be hungry? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. Tofu Kozo has a very distinct appearance. He looks like a young boy wearing a kimono and a large bamboo hat. In his hands is a square tray, and on that tray sits a piece of tofu, marked with a maple leaf design. This mark is said to be the logo of a tofu shop that was very popular in Edo at the time. He appears in many documents and woodblock prints from the Edo period. The most remarkable thing about him is that he does absolutely nothing. He might be seen walking down a road or just standing still in the rain. Even in the works of the famous yokai illustrator Toriyama Sekien, he is depicted almost like a servant, with no frightening descriptions attached to him. Why did he choose tofu of all things? This is deeply connected to the food culture of the Edo period. Back then, tofu was an extremely common and popular food. It was something everyone could easily get, much like snacks, or rice balls from a convenience store today. The fact that a yokai was based on such a familiar object shows that, for the people of Edo, yokai were shifting from being objects of fear to subjects of entertainment. However, it was not just ordinary tofu. According to some legends, if you eat his tofu, mold will grow inside your body, eventually causing you to depart from this world. Even though he looks harmless, there is a tiny hint of danger hidden within him. This contrast is part of his charm. If we trace the roots of Tofu Kozo, we find ourselves at the feet of a very famous yokai, the Hitotsume-kozo or the one-eyed boy. In fact, the most common theory is that Tofu Kozo was born as a variation of the one-eyed boy. During the mid-Edo period, entertainment books featuring yokai as protagonists became a massive trend. In these stories, yokai that were too terrifying were avoided, and people started looking for cute characters with strong personalities. As a result, creators took the one-eyed boy, stripped away the scary elements, and gave him a block of tofu, which was familiar to every citizen of Edo. He was essentially a mascot character created by the artists of that era. Think about this for a moment. Perhaps the characters and mascots we love today will be told as yokai stories hundreds of years from now. If your favorite character were to become a spirit that appears on a dark road, what kind of form do you think they would take? In the world of yokai, Tofu Kozo held a very low social standing. He was often depicted as a servant or a gopher for more powerful yokai. He would be seen carrying heavy luggage or holding an umbrella for others on rainy days. He never achieved great feats, he just quietly fulfilled his role. There is a sense of melancholy in his figure. Yet his presence was a source of comfort for the people of Edo. A being that holds no great power and just exists. Perhaps the commoners who lived diligently within a strict feudal society saw a reflection of themselves in him. What is also interesting is that Tofu Kozo is said to appear only under specific conditions, primarily on rainy days. He shows up quietly at night when the rain makes people hesitate to go outside. He carries his tofu in silence, his footsteps muffled by the sound of the rain. This setting symbolizes the aesthetic of the Edo period. Artists used delicate techniques to express the texture of rain, and Tofu Kozo, standing within that rain, gave the scene a sense of mysterious stillness and a slight touch of the extraordinary. It was not horror, but rather a non-daily beauty. But why was the rumor spread that eating his tofu would lead someone to lose their life? There is a fascinating theory that this was related to the quality control of tofu at the time. During the Edo period, tofu spoiled quickly in the summer, often causing food poisoning. Since some people actually passed away after eating moldy tofu, The ghost story of Tofu Kozo might have been added as a warning. Someone might have felt that being harmless was not enough for a yokai and added a moral lesson. Respecting food and being careful about hygiene were practical messages hidden behind his character. Here is my second question for you. When you were a child, did your parents or teachers ever tell you scary stories about food? Stories like if you whistle at night, snakes will come, or if you lie down after eating, you will turn into a cow. If you have any such memories, please share them with us. As we dig deeper into Tofu Kozo's story, we see his presence expanding into literature and theater. Even on the kabuki stage, he appeared as a lovable supporting character who eased the tension for the audience. During an era where yokai were so integrated into daily life, Tofu Kozo might have been an imaginary friend who blurred the lines between humans and spirits. However, as the era shifted to the Meiji Period and Western scientific thinking was introduced, harmless and unscientific beings like Tofu Kozo began to lose their place. In an age that tried to explain everything with science, a being that simply stood there with tofu was dismissed as meaningless. The yokai that once colored the streets of Edo were labeled as mere superstitions and began to fade from memory. Tofu Kozo, too, was swallowed by the waves of time and was almost completely forgotten. But in modern times, he has caught our attention once again. Writers and creators have shone a light on his mysterious charm, his strength in doing nothing, and his humble spirit. Modern society is a place where we are constantly pressured to achieve results and be efficient. In such a world, Tofu Kozo, who simply exists with his tofu, seems to teach us the importance of stopping for a moment. The pressure to be someone or to achieve something can be overwhelming. His absolute harmlessness offers a kind of release. Perhaps the reason he has been revived in modern culture is that we are all searching for such a peaceful presence in our hearts. As the climax of our story, let me share a certain episode. One rainy night, a man who was exhausted from work and losing his will to keep going encountered Tofu Kozo on the street. At first, the man thought it was a reaper come to take him away. But the child just stood there silently offering the tofu. When the man took a bite, it had a surprisingly nostalgic and gentle taste. Suddenly, the dark mist in the man's heart cleared, and he felt the courage to live another day. Tofu Kozo vanished into the rain without a word. He was not a being that ended lives, but perhaps one that reminded those in despair of the preciousness of everyday life. Tofu Kozo is certainly not a spirit that brings fear. However, the single block of tofu he carries is filled with the lives, prayers, and small joys of the people from the Edo period to now. True richness lies in the daily things we often take for granted. Tofu Kozo's figure tells us this important truth without using any words. The next time it rains at night, and you feel a presence while walking alone, do not be afraid. It might just be a small child spirit, trying to bring you a delicious piece of tofu. If that happens, please say thank you in your heart. How was the story of Tofu Kozo tonight? I hope you were able to feel the depth of this seemingly plain and harmless yokai. The world of yokai is not just about being scared. It is a mirror that reflects the human heart and history. I hope to continue sharing many more mysterious and charming stories with you. For my final question, if you met Tofu Kozo on the street, what would you say to him? Or would you have the courage to try a bite of his tofu? I look forward to your creative answers in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel and give us a like. Your support is a huge encouragement for me to find new stories. Also, if you have any requests for yokai or urban legends you would like me to cover, please let me know. Well then, that is all for tonight. I hope you have a peaceful night listening to the sound of the rain. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Good night.